position as the chair of chairs.
Councillor, I want to hear what she's saying. Councillor Echizonjoku, please continue.
We need to be very cautious that we don't become biased, that something works for one side of the house and it doesn't work for another side of the house, one, and not understanding religious symbols of different people, not countries. And we really need to be very careful. This is a democratic country,
Councillor,
and people can be expressing themselves in their religions
Councillor
that they want.
Echizonjoku,
So I just wanted to put that on record.
it's
Thank you very
noted.
much.
Councillor Echizonjoku, it is noted. And remember, we touched on this yesterday. Letters has already been sent. We touched on this yesterday, councillors. And I'm still going to say this, we don't want to stifle any debate, but in the same spirit, we do not want to provoke each other. We do not want to provoke each other. We do not want to stifle debate in this house. Councillor Rapadu.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Madam Speaker. I thought you will caution this type of behavior because the Speaker has sat down. And if we allow people to make comments after the Speaker has sat down, then we're going to have problems.
Councillor Rapadu,
No,
I
it's
did
fine.
the same for you yesterday.
No.
Councillor Rapadu,
No.
I'll remind you, I did the same
No,
for
Madam
you
Speaker.
yesterday, Councillor. I
No.
did the same
Madam
for
Speaker.
you
Yeah,
yesterday.
but I thought it's a new
even
day.
offended Councillor Mazibugo when I did the same for you.
It's a new
My
day.
respectful Councillor,
new
please
day,
take a
Madam
seat
Speaker.
so we continue with
It's a
business
new
of the
day.
day. I did the same for you yesterday.
They're clapping now.
Please sit down. Sicela uhlale phansi, Councillor.
Madam Speaker.
Ngukenzele into efanayo izolo baze bangishaya ngapha ngoba ngukenzele kanjalo nami
I'll
izolo.
respect Madam Speaker, it's fine, but it's a new day and we must do things differently. It's a new day.
Hi, Councillor Rapadu. Member in charge, acting member in charge, Councillor Mwepe.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to thank
Councillor
The
Mwepe,
section
please hold
79.
on. Councillor Kanyile. Where's Councillor Kanyile? Where? Anguboni, Councillor, sorry.
No, thanks very much, Madam Speaker. I think that before the member in charge can close the debate, I just want to quote one of the things that was said by the chair of chairs in regard to with the ward committees that are complaining with that 1,000 rand. We feel that now ward councillors can make a huge difference with that 1,000 rand if they're gonna just put in all the councillors so that they're gonna able to
Councillor,
do
you're
the
not in the
secretary.
speaker's list.
Remember that now when
Councillor
those.
Kanyile, you are not in the speaker's list.
But remember, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Kanyile, you are not in the speaker's list. Councillor Kanyile, what's wrong? Portable. Ngeke. Wangiphoqa ngempela. Wena Councillor Rapadu, wena. Acting member in charge, Councillor Mwepe.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to thank the researchers, the coordinators, and Section 79 committee, as well as, before I sit down, Speaker, I'd like to thank the MMC, Kenny Kunene, for responding promptly yesterday with the flooded house in Ward 92. As well as I'd like to thank the executive mayor and MMC Mabaso for delivering the title deed for the Greater Ivory Park residents. As I sit down, Speaker, I'd like Council to note and approve the reports. Thank you. So, Speaker, one more thing, Speaker. Sorry. I'd like to wish our chair, Punsabe, a speedy recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Member in Charge. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 37.9 and 38.10. Recommendation for item 39 and item 40, the recommendations are on page 39.3 and 40.6. Are the items agreed to? Thank you, councillors.
Councillors, we proceed with item 41, and that's the joint oversight visit by the Section 79 Oversight Committee on Development Planning and Transport to Orange Farm Public Transport Facility on the 8th of November 2024. Also moving to item 42, which is the joint oversight visit by the Section 79 Oversight Committee on Development Planning and Transport to Orange Farm Stormwater Management on the 8th of November 2024. Also, item 43 is also a joint oversight visit by the Section 79 Oversight Committee on Governance, Finance, and Municipal Public Accounts and Transport to Lillian Ngui Street, which was formerly called Bridge Street, on the 22nd of November 2024. And lastly, item 44, which is an oversight visit report of the Section 79 Finance Committee to Randburg Revenue Center on the 24th of January 2025.
Thank you, Secretary of Council. The different whips from all the different political parties agreed that there will be no speakers. I'll just read the recommendations. The recommendations are on pages 41.7, 42.5 to 42.6, 43.7, 44.8 are the items agreed to. Thank you, councillors.
We move to item 45, which is the Group Strategic Supply Chain Management Acquisition Status Report, reflecting bids considered and approved by the Accounting Officer for the period of 1st October 2024 to 31st December 2024.
The first speaker for this item is from the DA, Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Speaker. My time starts now, I take it. I stand before you for item number 45, being the Group Strategic Supply Chain Management Acquisition Status Report reflecting bids considered and approved by the Accounting Officer for the period 1st of October 2024 to 31st of December 2024, Speaker. I start off to say that dark clouds have descended over Johannesburg. That is a metaphor, not a weather report. Some of us may remember the movie Groundhog Day, and coincidentally, my whip from the committee used the same analogy. I'd just like to go a little bit deeper into it. This is a film from 1993 starring Bill Murray. This was quite a funny film. Some of you may remember it. And he was playing the character Phil Connors, who is a cynical weatherman trapped in a time loop, reliving the same day, February the 2nd, over and over again in the small town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Initially frustrated, Phil uses the loop for personal gain, but he eventually grows tired of its emptiness. Over time, he learns to improve himself and help others and embrace kindness and humility. His transformation ultimately breaks the cycle. This item feels like Groundhog Day because at least one of the items is appearing here again. And again, it was not served to the Finance Committee before appearing here. So once again, I must raise my concerns in the chamber as opposed to in the committee. In most of the committees, councillors from all sides of this chamber have expressed their concern for Johannesburg and need for urgent measures to be implemented to arrest the decay. I hope one day this chamber will put our residents and the city first and use our vote wisely. On Annexure A of table item number 45, there is a table indicating what appears to be a duplication of the stationery supply item that was noted on the 30th of January in this chamber, 2025. The contract number is the same, the suppliers are the same, so is the description of and the amount being 45 million rand. This is 45 million rand for the supply, delivery, and offloading of stationary stock items to the city for a period of 3 years on an as and when basis. A duplication of this is what we should expect every quarter, and then this implies that Cllr, and not the city, is spending in the region of 180 million rand per year on stationery. To put that into perspective, this is 570,000 rand a day on paper, pens, pencils, and paper clips. Speaker, through you, if the MMC knows what we are doing with all the stationery, please let the council know in your response. Let us assume that we are buying paper to put these numbers into perspective. A box of paper from Macro costs 389 rand. 570,000 rand a day works out to 1,464 boxes of paper every day, each containing 5 reams. Each ream is 500 sheets of paper. This works out to 3,660,000 sheets of paper every day. So on one hand, we are budgeting to use 80 million sheets of paper per month, no exaggeration. And on the other hand, we are spending well over R1 billion on SAP and support to go paperless. Please help me understand what all this paper is being used for. I hope Section 55 of the Systems Act indicates that as head of administration, the municipal manager of a municipality is subject to the policy direction of the municipal council and is responsible and accountable for the formation and development of an economical, effective, efficient, and accountable administration that is equipped for the implementation of the IDP, municipal performance system, and respond to the needs of local communities. So all of us, from the legislature, the executive, and officials, are responsible and accountable. The date that the executive adjudication approved this contract, committee approved this contract, was 16 months after the closing date. I take this as further confirmation that this is a contract that is being automatically renewed each quarter, as it is a 3-year contract. This was not self-evident in the report, but given that we have seen this in January and again today, one can extrapolate that the 36 bidders have effectively scored a lucrative deal worth 540 million rand to deliver and offload stationary stock items for 3 years on an as and when required basis. Please help us understand. If there's not much as and when, for example, during December, are we still paying that 45 mil? Is this the case now more than ever? I'm recommending to the mayor and the city manager to make the bid specification documents available to council to interrogate before the ratepayer money is spent on as and when. I conclude. In reflecting on the recurring challenges within the city's supply chain management, it is impossible to ignore the parallels to Groundhog Day. The persistent appearance of certain items like the stationery supply contract raises serious concerns about questionable spending practices, such as the allocation of the 180 million rand annually for stationery, while simultaneously investing heavily in paperless systems like Azure and SAP. These inefficiencies underscore the urgent need for transparency and accountability in the tender process. It is imperative that the administration takes decisive action to revise the supply chain management policy. Addressing these shortcomings to ensure ratepayer funds are used effectively. Strengthening oversight mechanisms is crucial to fostering fiscal responsibility and delivering better outcomes for the residents of Johannesburg. Unfortunately, given the lack of change since I last raised my concern in January, the Democratic Alliance calls on the voter to give the city of Johannesburg any hope. The Democratic Alliance notes this report with concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Freedom Front Plus, Councillor Bo.
Good morning again, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on item 45, the acquisition report for supply chain management. And I want to start this morning with an actual story that is not a story, it's a fact. Last year, this time, when the Freedom Front was campaigning in Region B, Fairland, Northcliffe area, it was about peak time traffic on a weekday afternoon. When a car stopped at our point, a car which is probably valued much more than my residential property is valued, And a very nice man, a black man, walked out of the car and he started to chat to us. And we had a long chat, and he said he will forever put his votes to the ANC because he said the city of Johannesburg made me stinking rich. And he was an attorney. He's probably one of the attorneys that is part of the 400 million rand debt collection panel. Madam Speaker, I rise on this acquisition supply chain management in the city of Johannesburg. It is probably one of the darkest departments. We don't know what is going on there. But what is very strange here, in this report, it seems to me that Cllr only awarded 4 tenders in Q2. If you look at the KPIs of group finance, the average number of days from advertising to awarding a tender on an 80-20 procurement process is 641 days. That is roughly 2 years. That is on an 80-20 procurement process. I assume those processes here are the 90-10 processes. They should even take longer. The target is 90 days, and we're doing those awards in 641 days. So I don't know how we're going to get to this. And then we see on this report the triple BEE levels. Now remember, councillors, this first tender that was awarded was for the provision of supply, delivery, and offloading of stationary stock items. The bidders were, and I'm going to read the name of the bidders, Chonko Cleaning Services, they bid for stationery. Joman Construction and Projects, they bid for stationery. Kungumusu Training and Projects, they bid for stationery. Maduma Civil Works, they also bid for stationery. Makulu Library Furniture Manufacturers, they also bid for the stationery award. Rems, MAMS Construction and Projects, they also want to bid for the stationery. And I can carry on. Tumamania Hygiene, Food and Security Solutions, they also want to supply stationery. And then we can carry on.
30 seconds remaining.
Construction and Projects, they also bid for stationery. Madam Speaker, I want to stand up in council and say, our residents are not wanting BEE appointment. They do not want tenderpreneurs using and misusing the city's money. Our residents want efficient service at an efficient and a realistic price. And there's a song in English that says, it is time to say goodbye. Madam Speaker, it is time to say goodbye to BEE and triple BEE and tenderpreneurs and get the work done efficiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Po. Action essay, Councillor Nkwenin.
Ngibonge Speaker. Bengizoqhubeka ngesikamageba kodwa ngithi ake ngize nganeno futhi bazongizwa abanye. All protocol observed. Madam Speaker, I rise on item 45. Madam Speaker, the city needs to move away from storing items in various stores and move towards the direct supply of stationery to entities through the service providers. Many issues relating to debt stock and supply chain mismanagement were picked up by the Section 79 Finance Committee during our oversight visit to Smith and Main Reef stores. Paper stock had to be thrown into a cage outside to make way for obsolete printer cartridges that are sitting inside the main building at Smith Street. This is just one example of poor mismanagement and non-adherence to asset disposal policy. The issue of the Red Fleet has been ongoing for a while now, with the GCSS having dropped the ball unceremoniously and rendering the city helpless to disasters such as fire and flooding. We welcome the long-awaited procurement of the specialized Red Fleet, as this will assist the city to respond timelessly to disasters and ultimately save lives of hundreds, if not thousands. In as far as the appointment of the service provider for short-term motor and non-motor insurance is concerned, we hope and pray that we won't hear any stories about how the service provider was not paid or how the contract had expired before someone could pick up the contract end date, thus creating a delay in the appointment of new service provider. I hope that we will manage our risk better and that we will not find ourselves as a city in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Ndorebo Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Nkonyeni. EFF, Councillor Netamba.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to the caucus leader of the EFF in his absentia, Dr. Mthembu. Greetings to the Chief Whip of the EFF, Tabisa Mhapi, not forgetting the 29th Battalion of the EFF. Greetings to the people in the gallery, the community watching us at home. The EFF, since its information, made it clear, even in our founding manifesto, that we are for abolishment of the tendering system. Cardinal pillar number 3 speaks on building the state and government capacity, which will lead to the abolishment of tenders. We believe that the tendering system does not benefit the masses, but the few entrepreneurs that milk the cities dry of its limited resources through inflated prices they charge. An example is the over 30 companies that have been appointed for stationery, and the value of the tender is 45 million, that the city will have saved a large amount of it and still have the required stationery. The appointment of a service provider to supply and deliver specialized fire and rescue vehicle for the city could have created job opportunity for the citizen instead of being given to a company that the city does not verify if the work has been done to acceptable standard. This is one example of service that must be in-house service. The departments only concern themselves with just an invoice. Who then looks into the delivery of the product or service and verification of the work done? Once the tenders is awarded, life goes on. It is for this reason that we have the city full of potholes, traffic lights that are not working, and etc. Because the tendering system is just a get-rich-quick scam in the name of the service delivery for our people. We hope our people vote for the party that will change this phenomenon and create jobs for everyone. Johannesburg, please vote for EFF. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. ANC, Councillor Nofemela.
Thank you, Speaker, and greetings to you. Greetings to the Executive Mayor, the Whip of Council, the ANC caucus, fellow councillors. Greetings once more to the members in the gallery and the 6 million plus residents of the city of Johannesburg. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 45. Speaker, as the ANC, we have looked into the report and analyzed it closely, and we are satisfied that nothing untoward that can be identified or picked up. So it is very clear that the evaluation committee and the respective adjudication committee are executing their task according to the relevant prescripts governing the bidding processes. Speaker, as the ANC, we know the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. MMC Arnolds.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker, and greetings to everybody in the House and those in the gallery. Madam Speaker, this report is in compliance with the MFMA and supply chain management regulations, and this report ensures that council continued oversight of the city's procurement process. I'm not going to name the councillors that spoke, but I also want to say that We don't only buy paper and we don't only buy pens, we also do buy cartridges and anything that's stationary. It's also a 3-year contract with a maximum value of 45 million. And that is why we are going fast procurement. Even though SCM is the custodian of procurement, it is actually the departments and the entities that make up the bid committees. We cannot dictate who applies. We cannot dictate who applies for the tenders. That is illegal. Whether the names are cleaning services, whether the names are construction services, we can't dictate to them. Madam Speaker, the report outlines bids between October and December 2024 by the Central and Executive Adjudication Committees. All awards were made in line with the legislation and procurement frames with budget approvals in place. The report affirms the city's commitment to fair, transparent, and cost-effective procurement. I commend the group finance and supply chain teams for their professionalism. I recommend that Council notes the report and support the steps taken to ensure transparency and good governance. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, MMC Annals. The recommendations are on page 45.3. Is the item agreed to? Thank you, councillors.
We now move to item 46, and that's the Group Strategic Supply Chain Management, EAC Deviation and Rectification Reports that were considered and approved by the Accounting Officer for the period October 2024 to December 2024.
The first speaker is Councillor Peterson from the DA.
Thank you, Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the highlights from our recent deviations, ratifications, contract amendments, and procurement reports for the period 1st of October to 31st of December 2024. While the Accounting Office has approved these items, it is important to note that they have not yet been tabled before the Finance Committee, as usual. Without this crucial review, we cannot truly ascertain if our ratepayers are receiving genuine value or if our services align with the community needs. There is the risk that we are being led without full oversight. Consider the specific deviation. We have requested an exception to standard procurement to engage SAP systems for SAP RISE services at a project value of 268,657,700 rand. This initiative comes on top of the additional 24-month contract awarded to Baraka IT Solutions, which we discussed in our extraordinary council meeting on the 13th of March, 2025. To put this into a broader perspective, Baraka IT Solutions, 935 million rand over 5 years. SAP SA for SAP RISE, 269 million. Microsoft for Azure, 750 million. And I'm sure there are other contracts, but those are just ones that came off the top of my head that we've passed recently. These commitments total nearly 2 billion rand. When distributed, this amounts to about 85,000 rand per employee across 25,000 licenses, I assume, because we're not given those kinds of details, so we need to do a lot of thumb sucking here. It is essential that, in reference to response about transparency, it is essential that we know exactly how many licenses are deployed, their locations throughout the city, and the login rates per department. This is the only way that we as the legislature can exercise effective oversight. This information is key to determining whether our spending is delivering the promised services and if we are indeed getting value for money. And I now hear yesterday in this house that 50 million rand was paid for JPC staff's computer training. So we can add that to the IT spend. I think even Google's eyes would weep at the amount we spend on IT. Costs on this level do not make sense, even in a large organization, such as the City of Johannesburg. These costs reveal an administration that claims to attain good governance, financial sustainability, and sustainable service delivery. These numbers point to mismanagement, ineffective service provision. I appeal to the executive and to all my colleagues. Let us secure the necessary transparency and accountability. We must review these details thoroughly, especially before considering any proposals to increase residence rates and taxes by 36% as we did in the last budget. Our collective oversight is meant to ensure the taxpayer money is used efficiently. And before the MMC comes back and responds that, oh no, we only raised 12% here and 2% there and whatnot. On average, with all of the administrative costs, it does come to 36%. That is how much residents are paying today as opposed to the previous year. So let's deal with facts and not hide it under red herrings. Our collective oversight is meant to ensure the taxpayers' money is used efficiently, and more importantly, that every Johannesburg citizen receives the full benefit of our investments. The Democratic knows this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Action essay, Councillor Nkonyen.
Ngibonge Mvelas. All protocol observed. I rise to speak on item 46, Somlom. Normally, I would be up in arms about this report. However, because this report speaks to the expedition of Mskowa, which we as Action SA have been very vocal about, Action SA welcomes the procurement of SEPRISE. The report also prioritizes the upskilling of support staff and councillors through the appointment of Wits School of Governance. We welcome that. The Transport Department will also benefit from the expertise of CSIR through the provision of technical support services. This deviation echoes Action SA's policy on the professionalization of public service. We cannot continue to appoint clueless service providers who leave the city in all sorts of financial problems. And Lillian Goy is a perfect example. Action SA notes and appoints this and approves this report. Baya dankie.
Thank you, Councillor Nkonyeni. EFF, Councillor Nhlapo.
Greetings to the Speaker, to the EFF MMCs, to the EFF Chief Whip and all councillors. I rise on item 46, Group Strategic Supply Chain Management, EAC, Deviation and Ratification Reports that were considered and approved by the Accounting Officer for the period October 2024 to December 2024. The EFF noted that the Finance and Group Legal and Contracts departments were consulted when drafting this report. The deviations and ratification reports approved by the Accounting Officer had budget provisions, and also no deviation was approved without the approved budget provision. The EFF notes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. ANC, Councillor Nofamela.
It's my choice. I'm a Mabelo.
Councillor Nhlapo, please switch off your mic.
Thank you once more, Speaker, and greetings to you, the Executive Mayor in absentia, the Whip of Council, ANC caucus, and fellow councillors. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 46. Speaker, Regulation 36, subsection 1A, allows the accounting officer to deviate from the normal procurement processes, which are, in an emergency, if goods or services are available from a single supplier, if goods acquired are special works of art, if it's for animals for zoo, or in any other way wherein it's impossible to follow official procurement processes. So it is worth noting that all the deviations which were done had the budget provisions under the respective votes. The procurement processes are fragile by nature, so it's necessary for the department to see to it that the law and relevant regulations are followed to avoid adverse findings by the Auditor General, like irregular expenditure. Speaker, as the ANC, we note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Nofamela. MMC Arnolds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think in his opening remarks, the Chair of Chair was saying how happy he is about the Section 71 reports that are now seemingly flowing, and that it looks like we are getting to a point of complying with Section 71, but I also know that the MFMA states that it comes straight to council, but we have spoken to Section 79 on how we will deal with it. I had a conversation with she's not around, with the chairperson of the Section 79, and she was in full agreement. Madam Speaker, getting back to the report, Regulation 36 allows deviations from standard procurement processes in exceptional circumstances, such as emergency, single supplier availability, or technical issues of a minor nature. All approvals were compliant with the SCM policy and the budget availability. The deviations will be included in the notes in the city's annual financial statements in line with Regulations 36 of 2. This report will also be made public in accordance with Section 21A of the Municipal Systems Act. We recommend that the council notes the content of the deviation and rectification report and its annexures, that the approved deviations be formally recorded in the annual financial statements as required. These deviations reflect necessary exceptions to ensure continuity of service delivery and operational efficiency while remaining accountable to council and the public. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, MMC Arnolds. The recommendation on page 46.3 is the item agreed to. Thank you, councillors.
Item 47 is a Group Strategic Supply Chain Management Operational Status Report for the period of 1st October 2024 to 31st December 2024.
Councillor Peterson from the DA.
Thank you, Chair. Item 47, Group Strategic Supply Chain Management Operational Status Report, 1st of October to 31st of December. In reviewing our purchasing and inventory data for this period, we see a mixed picture that demands our urgent attention. In the second quarter alone, direct purchases within our core operations, not the whole city, reached an astonishing 1 billion and something rand, pushing the year-to-date total to over 2 billion rand, almost 2.2 billion rand. Equally significant, our stock purchases covering replenishable items totaled 10 million rand for the quarter and 13.3 million rand for year-to-date. Our stores and inventory management figures as at 31st of December indicate a held stock value of 111,526,590 rand and 79 cents, with 156,299 items issued, with just over 13 million rand, and 105,000 items received, valued at 10 million, all while no stock write-offs occurred during this quarter. That in itself is troubling. If our stock management, supply chain management is in such order, why are we not writing off stock as and when? However, these impressive figures go, on one hand, mask concerning trends. Take, for instance, the situation at Smith Street. It is inexplicable that the city continues to store and issue enormous quantities of ink cartridges, 76,000 items valued at 80 million rand, averaging roughly 100 rand per item. The details of these issuances remain opaque, which prevents us from confirming if these high-value items are being properly allocated to their rightful departments. In stark contrast, Main Street, a facility serving basic cleaning supplies like toilet rolls and detergents, issued only 18,000 items. In the same period, this imbalance, where nearly 4 times more stationary items are handled compared to essential cleaning materials, raises serious governance questions. It is imperative that we secure transparency and accountability in our procurement and distribution processes. After all, we're paying a fortune for the SAP system. It should be able to give us a detailed report. That's why we pay the big bucks for SAP. We must insist on thorough reports from the Group Audit Committee, reassuring us that all aspects of these transactions are subject to rigorous oversight, not the bare minimums of what the MFMA allows. We're here to do a job, not just to meet the absolute bare minimum of MFMA and tick a box. Our commitment must be to protect the interests of our ratepayers and citizens, ensuring that every rand spend is justified and aligned with our long-term service delivery goals. Let us call for an immediate review of our current supply chain practices and the SCM policy, not only to address these discrepancies, but to also foster efficiency, fiscal responsibility, and robust public accountability. This conclusion emphasizes the impressive scale of our procurement activities, while also casting a critical eye on emerging discrepancies and the need for enhanced oversight. It ties the numerical data with trends observed in our facilities, inviting decisive action to safeguard communities' interests. Cancelled bids for the period 1st of October to 31st of December. One of the bids cancelled during the 4th quarter was for the provision of pesticides and application equipment for the health department. The bid was declared non-responsive as none of the submissions met the required criteria. Unfortunately, this cancellation has significant implications for service delivery. As per the Constitution, it is our responsibility to promote a safe and healthy environment. Without this contract, the Environmental Health Unit cannot effectively provide pest control services, which poses a risk to public health. The lack of vector control services could result in an increase in complaints and compromise the well-being of our residents. Adding to this concern, there is currently an ongoing mango fly infestation in Pretoria North, which presents a serious threat to Johannesburg. Mango flies are known to cause serious cutaneous myiasis, a condition where their larvae burrow into the skin of humans and animals, leading to painful infections. Without adequate pest control measures, this infestation could spread to Johannesburg, endangering both public health and the safety of our pets. We must address these challenges to ensure sustainable and efficient service delivery that meets and needs our communities. In Annexure E of this item, contracts due to expire within the period of 12 months. The concern is the list, as per Annexure E, indicates that contracts will be expiring in 12 months. This is actually a very positive thing. The purpose of the reminder is to inform the departments to commence the bidding process for renewal of contracts timeously. There are 18 contracts and established panels of service providers that are due to expire in the next 12 months. That is the period between 1st of January to December 2025. So I do want to use this opportunity to implore the heads of departments to be sensitized to the availability of this information and to check their mailboxes to eliminate deviations from the normal procurement process and thus avoid those pesky Section 36s. I once again also ask councillors in this House to pay attention to Annexure E and put the respective items onto your committee agendas and thereby reduce the number of Section 36s, which will be, the Auditor General will appreciate. The Democratic Alliance notes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Action SA, Councillor Nkunin.
Bonge Mvelase. Greetings to all councillors, all protocol observed. Speaker, I won't labor much on the stock values, as Councillor Niran has already, gone on about that. And I've already spoken to this item and made my recommendations in item 45. Of great concern is the issue of GT rank, which, much like the Metro Center, faces the risk of becoming a white elephant if the city does not appoint a credible and reputable service provider to manage and oversee its administrative functions. If JPC was not as hopeless as it is, I would have asked why the GT project has not been handed over to JPC. But the less said about JPC, the better. Action SA would like to know, what is the turnaround strategy for
Councillor
JPC?
Nkonyeni, please hold on. Councillor Tilange.
Madam Speaker, on a point of order, just in context, I thought we were not allowed to refer to animals in this chamber. So I don't know how to handle that specific one, Madam Speaker.
You can't refer to any fellow councillor as anything apart from being a human being. Any councillor in this house will not be referred to, etc., animals and so forth. Councillor Tilange, you are being naughty. Councillor Nkonyeni, you can continue.
Ngibonge Speaker. As was mosheli isikhathi bo. Speaker, if JPC was not as hopeless as it is, I would have asked why the GT project has not been handed over to JPC. But the less said about JPC, the better. Action SA would like to know what is the turnaround strategy for JPC and why is the city ignoring the fact that JPC is a liability? The mere fact that JPC cannot be trusted with the management of GT speaks for itself. As we approach the end of Q3, we hope that all bids and pending adjudications and finalization have since been closed for the betterment and sake of service delivery. As Action SA, we call for the city to be more efficient and to act timelessly in ensuring that residents do not suffer while the city drags its feet. And we plead with residents of this once great city to make the right choice at the polls come 2026. Only action can fix Johannesburg. Ke a leboha.
Thank you, Councillor Nkonyeni. EFF, Councillor Ntlap.
Greetings, Speaker. Once more, I rise on item 47. The report is compiled in compliance. And we also note that all departments were consulted. We also note that it will also be communicated on the council website in terms of the regulation 6.4 of the supply chain management regulations issued in terms of the MFMA. The EFF notes the report.
Councillor Ntlap, ANC, Councillor Nofamela.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 47. Speaker, the total value of all purchases ordered for the second quarter was approximately 1 billion and shows 2.1 billion year to date. So it goes without saying that financial management is key in order to keep the city's operations ongoing. As the ANC, we believe that without the viable financial resources, the city's service delivery will be negatively impacted, thus affecting the living conditions of the residents of the city of Johannesburg. Therefore, we call on all the authorities and stakeholders to encourage the residents of the city to pay their municipal accounts. Speaker, as the ANC, we note the report. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nofamela. MMC Arnolds.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you so much, Councillor Nofamela, for also asking residents and business and everybody to pay their municipal accounts. It will make things easier for the city. It's only blue. As councillors, we should know that stock write-offs are based on accounting principles and expiry dates. Madam Speaker, I would like to present the GSSCM operational status report for the period 1 October to 31 December 2024. This report provides statistical and operational insight into procurement activities across key departments and reaffirms our commitment to good governance, financial sustainability, and efficient service delivery. All procurement processes complied with the MFMA, the SCM regulation, preferential procurement regulations, and the city's own SCM policy, in line with Regulation 604, which requires transparency in supply chain decisions. The report will be published on the city's website for public access. I recommend that council notes the contents of the report and its annexures A to F, and that the group head GSSCM ensures the report is made publicly available. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, MMC Arnold. The recommendations are on page 47.4. Is the item agreed to? Thank you, councillors.
We proceed now with item 48, and that is the City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 31st of October 2024.
I'll start with Councillor Masugu from Action SA.
Thank you, Speaker. Action SA note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Masugu. EFF, Councillor Ntlapo.
Greetings, Speaker. The EFF notes the report.
Sabonga, Councillor Ntlapo. ANC, Councillor Maswazi.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I'm under pressure that I must also note this report. But let me just say that we are happy and encouraged as the ANC that at least these Section 71 reports are now being submitted. This is important because this complies with Section 71 of the Municipal Finance Management Act of 2003. And we are saying that we are happy that this will be consistent and we'll keep on getting them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maswazi, and welcome to the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg. I would like to call MMC Arnold.
Good afternoon to the Executive Mayor. Good afternoon, Speaker, once again. Madam Speaker, today we present 4 Section 71 reports covering October 2024 to January 2025. This brings us up to date with the February 2025 report currently moving through the committee process. I'm sure Councillor Santana would be pleased with this progress. Madam Speaker, year-to-date revenue was 5% above budget, 1.4 billion, largely due to early receipt of major grants such as the USDG, informal settlement, upgrade, and equitable share. These are paid in tranches per the DORA schedule, but budgeted evenly over the year. Operating expenditure was under budget by less than 1%, 398 million, resulting in an actual operating deficit of 104 million against a budgeted deficit of 1.8 billion. Of the 7.4 billion approved capital budget, 1.3 billion, 17% has been spent to date. Cash and investment, cash balances declined from 2.6 billion to 2.3 billion, a drop of 335 million. Liquidity, Standard Bank short-term facility was repaid in October 2024 to manage liquidity. The billing collection, 5.8 billion was billed in September, with 5.3 billion collected in October, 91% 91.5% collection rate. The year-to-date collections are 88%, which is below target and poses a cash flow risk. Enhancing collection efforts are therefore critical. Madam Speaker, I would ask this House to note the report. I thank you.
Thank you, MMC Arnolds. Does Council note this report? Thank you, councillors.
We're now on item 49, and that's another City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 30th November 2024.
Action SA, Councillor Masugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Action SA note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Masugu. EFF, Councillor Ntlapo.
Your voice, you speak proper. I don't want to lie to you.
Greetings to the Speaker once more in the House. I rise on item 49. Just a reminder, the EFF still stresses on this building state and government capacity, which will lead to the abolishment of tenders. We note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Ntlapo. ANC, Councillor Maswas.
Yeah, greetings again, Speaker. The ANC would like to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maswazi. MMC Arnolds.
Madam Speaker, I'm being threatened. I would ask that this House notes the report. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Oh, thank you, MMC Arnolds. Does Council or the House note this report? Thank you, councillors.
Item 50 is the City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 31st December 2024.
DA, Councillor Santana.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to speak on item 50, the City of Johannesburg MFA in-year financial report for the period ended 31st of December 2024. You see, Madam Speaker, this is when we put the cart before the horse. We've just done the quarterly reports and now we're doing the MFA reports. It should have been the MFA reports, then the quarterly reports, and then our adjustment budget. Not opposite. We confuse our residents and we actually show that we don't know what we're doing as council. Because we should have had all these reports prior to the adjustment budget. And hence why I keep on complaining and asking you to fulfill your role as the Speaker of Council and ensure we get our reports in time. I thank you. We note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Santana. Action SA, Councillor Masugu.
Madam Speaker, Action SA note the report.
Thank you, Councillor Masugu. EFF, Councillor Ntlapo.
Thank you, Speaker. The EFF knows the report.
Hey, we are just noting today. ANC, Councillor Maswazi.
Thank you, Speaker. The ANC knows the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maswazi. MMC Arnolds.
Madam Speaker, I don't know why Councillor Santana tries to provoke me all the time. I bought a blue pen, I bought a blue outfit, I bought a blue glass. The other councillor has just taken it to see what it looks like. I even bought this in blue. I even have my tire in blue. I thought I would be making it all blue today. Unfortunately, I'm not popular. Speaker, the city's finances remain stable. Revenue performance continues to exceed the expectations, while expenditure remains within acceptable limits. This has resulted in a positive operating position. Cash flow remains steady, with key financial obligations met. Al het ons nie die geld, maar ons doen sekere goed wat ons moet doen. Collection rates are strong overall, supported by active disconnection campaigns. Please, ward councillors, don't stop us when we come to disconnect, please. And also speak to the residents so that they don't offer our people, I don't know whether you can call it cool drink or coffee or what, but please let's not do that. Let them do what they have to do. The city received major grants during the period, although the PTNG was reduced due to underperformance. System upgrades during December, which some of the councillors spoke about, impacted some financial reporting, but these issues are being addressed. In conclusion, the city's financial position is sound. We are not that dead yet. I recommend that council notes this report and continues to support efforts to strengthen collection, accelerate capital delivery, and uphold fiscal discipline. Together, we would be stronger. I thank you.
Thank you, MMC Arnolds. Does the House note this report? Thank you, councillors.
Item 51 is the City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 31st January 2025.
DA, Councillor Santana.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 51, the City of Johannesburg MFMA in-year financial report for the period ended 31st of January. So, Madam Speaker, I could also highlight through you to the MMC that factually we could have had the February report here too, but we don't. So it's an opportunity missed yet again. But be that as it may, let's go through what the issues are. We note the capital expenditure of 2.2 billion at the end of January, representing 29% of the expenditure of the 7.4 billion. Further analysis of that, we note that Cllr has only spent 13% and the entities of 40%. So we need to just find out why Cllr is lagging behind. We also note the cash and cash equivalents decreased by 111 million. We note the conditional grant performance at 66%. Of concern again is our sweeping counts, and I'm going to highlight those in the negative. City Power at 15.6 billion, JDA at 1.26 billion, Joshco at 1.6 billion, Metro Bus at 581 million, sorry. Propcom portfolio at 173 million, roads at 40.6 billion, MTC at 960.8 million. And then of concern, which I raised last time, is the fact that of our declining collection rate. The rate for January was down to 80.9%. Now we do know obviously there were some issues with regards to the update, SAP update over December, which obviously affected this drastically. But it's still below our budgeted collection rate of 87.7%, and National Treasury's at 95%. However, again, if we brought this prior to the adjustment budget, you've based the adjustment budget at 88.6%. So we do not see you meeting your requirements and collecting revenue to sustain what needs to be sustained. And so much so that you even have a note in your financial stating that the city's inability to meet the budgeted collection will result in the risk of adequate cash to fund operation commitments. And we also note the fact that our debtors age analysis now shot up to 63.1 billion. And we own our creditors 2.26 billion, all current. Of concern again is the fact that Cllr departments and all the departments in Cllr did not upload their reports timelessly. So my question to you is, what consequence management is and will be taken against those officials who do not comply with your reporting? Thank you. We note the report.
Thank you, Councillor. Freedom Front Plus, Councillor Pooh.
Good day once again, Madam Speaker, and through you to the MMC. You're never going to impress the blue party by wearing blue, so maybe you must consider wearing green. But having said that, I'm sure, MMC, you are looking at a different report than I'm looking at the item 51, the MFMA report for January 2025, because I cannot see that the city's finances are stable. As was mentioned by Councillor Santana, the collection rate dropped further from 84% in the second quarter report to 80.9%. I've got no words. Yes, I know we had system problems, we had water interruptions in December, but we are heading for disaster. Our debtors book jumped only in 1 month. In the second quarter report, it was standing at 60.7 billion. Just a month later, end of January, it was standing at 63.1 billion. This is scary. This is frightening stuff. We are receiving this report. It hasn't served on Section 79 as yet. But I think I really want to ask the mayoral committee, because those reports need to go to them first for their approval, that they also correct the mistakes in the report before it comes to council. The report says on the first page that we had a year-to-date deficit of 951 million. In fact, that was a year-to-date surplus. It makes quite a big difference on a 951 million figure. But there as well, we're showing a 951 million surplus, but we still have not written off debt impairment since October, November, and December, and January. So we have not made a surplus. We're actually making a huge loss, especially with the 80.9% collection rate. Our finances really need decisive action. Yes, and we say we are stable, but we are 7 years down in the financial year. Our CapEx spending is only standing at 29%. After 7 months, we've got 5 months left to make up the other 71%. But we cannot spend because we do not have money. So everything goes back down to collection rate. My last question here, and it's actually not part of the MFMA report, but I asked a question yesterday on City Power's report. What happened to the Eskom dispute of the 3.6 billion? This is of very utmost importance in the city's financial. Seeing that we're having a 951 surplus, what happened to the dispute? Does Eskom owe us 3.6 or do we owe Eskom 3.6? And I think the councillors and the residents are entitled to know what was the outcome of that committee, that independent committee that was supposed to give adjudication on the 6th of December last year. And we would really appreciate the answers on those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pooh. Action SA, Councillor Masuku.
Honorable Speaker, members of council, the fellow residents of Johannesburg, I rise on item 51. The latest financial reports confirm what many of us have been raising for months. A city in financial distress, a city where mismanagement the latest financial reports confirm what many of us have been raising for months. A city in financial distress, a city where mismanagement has been crippled service delivery, and a city where residents are being failed daily. While we acknowledge the recommendation put forward, the people of Johannesburg do not need more reports filled with promises. They need action, they need accountability, they need real solutions. The city financial position remains weak. The report reveals a budget deficit of 951 million and under collection of revenue, with only 8.9% of bill revenue being collected. Below the budget, 84.2%. This shortfall affects the city's ability to pay service providers, maintain infrastructure, and deliver essential services. Key departments as such economic development, transport, and corporate services are failing to start spending their budget at the maximum level. It will result in crumbling the road networks. As maintenance is delayed, the city will continue to face housing backlogs as human settlement fails to meet its target. We are extremely concerned with the crumbling of public spaces, as funds meant for urban renewal remain untouched. This financial report highlights yet another crisis in Johannesburg, our inability to provide stable electricity and water services. City power remains overdrawn, highlighting serious liquidity issues. A bulk electricity over expenditure of 765 million due to Eskom billing dispute concerning. The water collection rate is at 7.6, leaving critical gaps in funding for infrastructure repairs. Speaker, we cannot just rely on tariffs and rates as means to generate revenue. We need to collect more water and electricity system. There's also a problem that we rely on heavily on grants from National Treasury. We need to increase our revenue collection. Madam Speaker, the people of Johannesburg deserve answers to why their services are failing while budgets are being mismanaged. In conclusion, Speaker, the time of excuses is over. The people of Johannesburg do not need more reports telling them what they already know. They need action. They need a government that is capable, accountable, and committed to deliver services. Action SA stands firm in its commitment to fiscal responsibility, infrastructure development, and better service delivery. We will continue to hold this government accountable, and we will not rest until people of this city receive the service they deserve. Madam Speaker, Johannesburg can be fixed, but only if you can stop making excuses and start making real changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Masuku. EFF, Councillor Ntlapo.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise on item 51. The EFF notes the report.
Thank you, Councillor Ntlapo. ANC, Councillor Maswas.
Thank you, Speaker. The ANC would like to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. MMC Arnolds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to start off with Councillor Santana. You are correct. January and December's collections are low, and it's always been like this. It's exacerbated by the critical maintenance on the system as well. We are cumulative collections of over 86%, and we are pushing to over 88% by the year end. Councillors, the CAPEX on the report does not include commitments. It does not mean that CAPEX projects are moving. Eskom case and Sanedi report, Councillor Boer, is ongoing. This is a complex investigation, and we all want it to conclude. We definitely want this to conclude, but we must allow time for the engineers to do their work. This is a budget. Councillors, there is a budget surplus, and we are planning to maintain the surplus, which will be the first in 3 years. Let's acknowledge progress and not just criticize. The metro trading entities currently happening with National Treasury will fundamentally change electricity and water businesses and bring about much needed funds for refurbishment. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, while the financial performance is stabilizing, there is a clear need to accelerate capital projects and improve collection. I table this report and recommend that Council notes its contents. I thank you.
Thank you, MMC. Does the House note this report? Thank you, councillors.
Councillors, we're on item 52, and that's the amendment of the City of Johannesburg Waste Management Bylaw.
DA, Councillor Kukamo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to speak on item 52, the amendment of the City of Johannesburg Waste Management Bylaw. And today I would like to join my fellow councillor, Councillor Shay, in the theme of deriving wisdom from children's books. Now, I won't call anybody locusts today, don't worry, Madam Speaker. But there is one in particular that is quite special. It's actually my favorite children's book of all time. It's Alice in Wonderland. And the reason why I find this book so incredibly special is it's one of those children's books where you can almost gauge your level of growth as a human being based on how you related to the book as a child and how you relate to the book as an adult. And there is one quote in particular from this book that I would like to refer to today, and it says, "If you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is certain to disagree with you sooner or later." I'm going to repeat that. If you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is certain to disagree with you sooner or later. Now, it is at this point that I want to remind Council that everything we consume, whether it be food, water, or the air we breathe, comes from our natural environment. Now, unlike trees that consume the yucky stuff, like carbon dioxide to give us oxygen, human beings work in the opposite way. So we consume oxygen, clean water, and plant, and then we poison our environments. Now, that is kind of a natural process. I call it the collateral damage of being a human being in the 21st century. It's not always intended, but it does happen. But you can't expect someone, for example, to care about things like recyclable or biodegradable dustbin liners if they can't even put food on the table. So it's kind of just a thing that happens with being human. But with that said, that means that we need to be very aware of the effects that we have on our environment, and where we can as a city, we need to kind of put measures in place to try and mitigate against this. Now, one of the many ways we can break the cycle of poisoning and consuming poison is to be mindful of how we intentionally or unintentionally affect the environment through the waste we put into the environment and how we manage that waste, and that is where waste management bylaws come in. Now, some of the key amendments of the waste management bylaw that's presented in the report refers to Chapter 3, which is owners building or renovating shall pay a deposit for cleaning to the City of Johannesburg. I think this is a very positive amendment. I think that is something we can definitely get behind, because what is happening currently is as people develop, they start dumping wherever they see a spot, because we do not have enough landfill sites anymore. So they just go wherever and they dump it there, and it ends up costing pick it up quite a bit to clean it up. So I'm glad that this was brought into this. Chapter 4, the formal integration of waste pickers into the waste management system. Now, this could be a very positive amendment, but I would like to pause here for a second. We can formalize the sector as much as we want to, and we cannot deny the role that informal waste pickers play in our waste management. We cannot deny that. But what I can also tell you is, unless we start addressing the issue of undocumented nationals, we're not going to solve the problem either. They're not going to buy into the city system. If they are undocumented, they would not be able to. So that is something that we do need to have a look at. That is something that we do need to address. That is something that we do need to address before this would actually have an impact on our environment. Now, Chapter 9, strengthening measures against illegal dumping and abandonment of waste. This is also extremely positive for us, but this should extend to medical waste. I think our hospitals are quite reckless in this. Now, Madam Speaker, I'm hearing the chairperson scream there from the other side. You know, we got paid this morning. So I don't think I'd be doing due diligence if I am not speaking on items that I'm responsible for on my committee. Now, these are all very necessary amendments to safeguard our natural environment and remind our residents of the responsibility to keep our environment clean. However, I would like to caution that bylaws are only as effective as their implementation and enforcement. So as much effort that was put into amending these bylaws, I hope the same effort will be put into enforcing them. If we keep poisoning our environment, it is going to start disagreeing with us sooner or later. Madam Speaker, we support these amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. UTM, Councillor Zikebe.
Through you speak, Councillor Kukyamur, the chairperson this side was not speaking about you going home, but the illegal immigrants that you're speaking about. So you're allowed to debate. Honorable Speaker, I rise on behalf of the United Democratic Movement and the minority governing parties to address this report. The proposed amendments to the Waste Management Bylaw of 2021 address severe environmental and public health threats. Johannesburg generates over 1.4 million tons of waste annually, with 90% filling near capacity landfill sites. Illegal dumping incidents increased by 18% over 3 years, polluting our environment and draining resources from essential services. These amendments strategically formalize the essential role of waste pickers by providing registration and accreditation, fostering dignified employment, and enhancing the circular economy. Additionally, stricter penalties, including the fines up to 50,000 and impounding vehicles involved in illegal dumping, are set as zero tolerance stance on environmental degradation. We recognize construction waste significant impact on and introduce a refundable deposit system to encourage responsible disposable practices, ensuring contractors bear accountability for their waste. This initiative is restorative, aiming to reduce landfill waste by 20% and increase recycling rates by 30% within 3 years, thus diverting 420 tons annually from landfills. These actions significantly reduce methane emissions, aligning with our city and global climate goals. Financially prudent, the amendments could generate 10 million rands annually through enhanced funds reinvested into improving waste management infrastructure, technology, and employment within the green economy. Citizens' engagement is pivotal. Public participation, supported by a budget of 93,500, ensures all community voices shapes the critical changes. Our responsibility aligns with constitutional mandates and global commitments, notably the UN Sustainable Goals, SDGs, Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, Goal 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, and Goal 13, Climate Change. Let us act decisively, endorsing these amendments for the future of Johannesburg, affirming our commitment to environmental sustainability, community dignity, and responsible governance. We note the report. Speaker, will tell me 10 seconds, I said. For the past 2 days in this council meeting, there have been undertones okudelela nokusa. And I want to tell you, Speaker, ukuthi uma abantu bezoza nama-scriptures besidelele ngawo, bese beze nama-quotes abuye ey'ncwadini zabantwana besidelele ngabo. Thina sizohamba siyovusa omkhulu nokhokho bethu, sithatha ama-quotes abo sizobadelela ngabo, akuziba mandi kule ndawo. Nkosi.
Thank you, Councillor Zikebe. Ngizophinda ngisho futhi that in this council, we don't want to stifle debate, but when we are rising to debate, let's do so in a respectful manner and not provoke each other. I'll move over to the following speaker, and that speaker is from the Freedom Front Plus, Councillor Pooh.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on item 52, the Waste Management Bylaw. As the Freedom Front, we really welcome this bylaw adjustment, especially where it addresses the two critical issues of illegal dumping and the formalizing of the waste pickers. That is something that we need to address. We cannot go around that. Madam Speaker, our city is dirty. Our city is very dirty. The landfill sites are full, and we can only have new landfill sites if they are available at an enormous cost. And we have to start thinking out of the box. Waste management will always be a problem, but I'm also regarding myself as a oman. And I remember when I was still young and I was still in school, we had various projects, especially amongst the schools, to educate children to be aware of recycling. We had zip it in a zippy bag, and we had collect a can. There's so much things that we can do. Waste is got a value attached, and I think Pick It Up must really investigate again to reduce the amount of waste that goes to our landfill sites, to go and speak to the recycling companies, recycling of plastic, recycling of glass, recycling of paper and carton, tins and so forth, and take hands with those recycling companies and promote a sort of a recycling action amongst the schools, for example, to make competitions for the school that collects the most recyclable material, give them cash prizes or pay the schools for the amount of waste they recycle. That will have a major impact, and not only that, it will generate income for the schools, but it will also create jobs. It will preserve our landfill sites, and it will educate our children. We have to educate our children that wasting stuff is not okay. You cannot throw stuff out of the car's windows. You cannot just dump your stuff on the pavement. You cannot just do whatever you want. I think there is so many opportunities here that we can explore, which won't cost us money. In fact, it will probably even make us money. And if we get to a stage where we really educate our people to start recycling the recyclable waste, then we can even consider of doing Pick It Up rounds once in 2 weeks instead of once a week. So I think we have to start thinking out of the box, but we really welcome this new waste management bylaw, and that and we support this item. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Pooh. ACDP, Councillor Harris.
Greetings, Madam Speaker, EM, MMCs, Chief Whip, Chairpersons, colleagues, residents. I rise to speak on item 52, the amendment of the City of Johannesburg Waste Management Bylaw. There are a few sections that need clarity. Section 33 provides for the inspection of plans, licenses, and documents. Does this extend to inspecting the material, including stolen copper pipes and cables held on the premises of scrapyards and recycling businesses? Section 37 speaks about the integration of waste pickers. Will non-South Africans be integrated as well? How will the bylaw affect informal waste pickers and their methods of transporting recyclable material? Section 49 talks to receptacles. The ACDP feeling is that it should be mandatory for these to be clearly marked with addresses, and these may not be moved more than 100 meters from the address. Just a quick aside, I was in Noordgesig one time, and we watched a guy walking past us with one of these wheelie bins, and inside the bin was the body of a person he had just killed. These receptacles are used for all kinds of crimes, and I think we should be doing something about stopping that. Part 257 states, and 72.1 deals with the general business waste and the prohibition of littering. How do we deal with the private sector, specifically fast food outlets like KFC and McDonald's, whose packaging is so easily discarded? How do we deal with supermarkets whose packaging material is the packet of choice in illegal dumping? How do we deal with motorists who throw litter and stompies, not Councillor De Lange, out of the moving vehicles? Chapter 9, 70 refers to accumulated waste. Are broken down cars included? How do we deal with hoarders and the evidence of their sickness inside and outside their homes? The thread of enforcement, or the lack of it, runs through these bylaws. 87.2 mentions the courts for the first time. The adoption of this bylaw should encourage the city to establish a municipal court so that enforcement is taken seriously. It is swift and a suitable deterrent to the serious antisocial behavior of dumping. The ACDP will advocate for an authorized enforcement official to accompany waste collection team so that the infringements can be dealt with the minute they are identified. JMPD and CRUM must be included in the enforcement regime. Education efforts must be focused on putting a policeman in every citizen's head rather than having people only obey the law when the policeman is visible. The ACDP urges the Communication Department to extend the public participation beyond
30 seconds
the
remaining.
usual adverts in 4 publications. Please use all the elements of the digital and social media to reach younger and tech-savvy stakeholders. The ACDP calls on citizens to actively participate in the amendment process and to contribute to crafting a fair and equitable bylaw. The ACDP welcomes these reports and notes it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. EFF, Councillor Mukasi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. We would like to begin by extending our revolutionary greetings to the leadership of the EFF caucus in the city of Johannesburg. Special acknowledgement to our caucus leader, Commissar Dr. Mthembu, our Chief Whip, Councillor Thabisa Mohapi, and all dedicated progressive councillors. Most importantly, to residents of city of Johannesburg, receive our revolutionary greetings. Speaker, as the representatives of the economic freedom fighters, we are pleased to address the amendment of the bylaw on waste management today. This amendment reflects our commitment to the principle outlined in the 2024 EFF People's Manifesto, which emphasized the importance of strengthening law enforcement in the realm of waste management. We are dedicated to amend and enhancing the National Environment Management Act and other progressive legislation to implement stricter measures against the dumping of toxic waste. Additionally, we aim to establish a robust rehabilitation commitments that extend beyond the economic lifespan of operations. This amendment embodies those goals, and we appreciate the contribution of all stakeholders involved in this proposal. Speaker, the Constitution of our country champions the right to healthy environment as stated in Section 24. It affirms our obligation to protect the environment for current and future generations through appropriate legislative measures. The amendment of waste management bylaw is not intended as a punishment, rather it serves to safeguard the well-being of our citizens. It is our collective responsibility as a city to foster a healthy and sustainable environment. This item has been submitted to the Council for the necessary publication approval in compliance with legal requirements as part of bylaw amendment processes. It is crucial that the draft is gazetted to enable meaningful public participation. We believe that public engagement should not merely fulfill a legal obligation. It must also exemplify the democratic values of our society. We recommend the expanding public participation opportunities beyond the traditional media channels, ensuring that residents, especially in disadvantaged areas who lack access to newspapers and social media, are engaged in person. Speaker, would like to encourage the residents of Region C to actively participate in the upcoming IDP consultation scheduled for Saturday, 29 March 2025 at Rodiport Civic Center, 10 a.m. We encourage community members to engage constructively in the IDP processes while also holding officials accountable for the progress since the last IDP session. It is essential to keep the meeting focused. This is a critical opportunity for communities and voices to be heard. We urge you to create an environment where community members can express their views freely without the restrictive time limitations on their needs and priorities can be prioritized. For any resident needing information on transportation to the venue, please feel free to reach out to the EFF branch in your area. We are here to assist in coordinating logistics provided by the city. Yes. In conclusion, Speaker, the economic freedom fighters fully support these recommendations and look forward to working together for a cleaner and healthier environment for all. Inkomu, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mkasi. Action essay, Councillor Mashala.
Thank you, beautiful speaker. Greetings to yourself, the executive mayor in absentia, the fabulous 24, the residents of the city of Joburg and fellow councillors in the house. Madam Speaker, I rise to speak on item 52. Speaker, Action SA notes and welcomes the amendments of the City of Johannesburg Waste Management Bylaw that are aimed at strengthening the regulation of waste management to protect the health of people and the environment. Madam Speaker, we welcome this as it aligns with what we stand for as a party. We believe that as South Africans, we have an equitable role in addressing the climate challenge as responsible global citizens. Madam Speaker, waste management is an inescapable challenge of our times. Whenever waste is produced, it needs to be managed well and with the potential environmental impacts in mind to help us avoid unnecessary disposal, environmental damage, and the entire population's health. So it is very vital that measures are in place to effectively manage and dispose of waste materials. Therefore, Madam Speaker, Action SA notes this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mashala. MMC Mqina.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Greetings to yourself, the Executive Mayor, Chief Whip, Chair of Chairs, fellow MMCs and councillors, and residents at home. Let me thank members of the committee for supporting this particular amendment report to the waste amendment report. Also note that or agree with yourselves that this amendment seeks to address the challenges of illegal dumping, limited landfill sites, waste pickers issues, as well as the greenhouse gas emission, but also to ensure that we also comply in terms of the Waste Act in the country. I think all councillors did support this particular report, and we welcome that support and request that this report be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC Mqina. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 52.3 to 52.4. Is the item agreed to? Councillors, we are going to break for lunch. We'll be back after an hour, which is 15:08.